Sunday. Y'all gotten any good news recently or bad news recently? I'm so tired of living in unprecedented times, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the housing market. And we're going to be talking about this roller coaster we've been on, high interest rates, low listings, then high listings, but still home prices high. I mean, it's just been like this. I'm tired. I'm tired. And I know you're tired too, especially if you're trying to find an affordable house. So we're going to be talking about all of that. Today, we're going to do something a little different. A little different. If you are in the audience, I want you to pick the article that we should talk about today. So Eddie's going to put some articles on the screen and you guys are going to vote on the one that we should discuss today. Because you know what? Audience participation matters. And I want it to be a very how do I want to put this? I just want everybody to have their voice heard today. How about that? Hello, hi SB, hi D Moo, hello Clark the realtor, mod extraordinaire. He has been upgraded to moderator now, so you guys got to keep it good in the chat because he's got the band hammer. He can he can take it away. Happy Sunday to you, Debbie Brady, also a moderator in the chat. Always keeping it clean. That's always. I mean, I think she's been around for like 4 years, helping me on this channel. Fantastic. Adrian says, should a person wait to buy a house? Should a person wait for it to buy a house? This is a very individual question. So, if you plan on like moving or selling your house in the next 3 years, it wouldn't matter what kind of housing market we were in. I would tell you probably hold off from buying a house. You should hold on to your house for several years before you sell it. But your financial situation is going to determine if you should buy a house or not. And luckily, the interest rates have come down a little bit. They're actually lower than when I bought my first house. I bought my first house at 7.5%. Right now, they're averaging around 7.2%. So, I mean, at least it's not in the eights. But I can't tell you. I can't give you a definitive answer. You really should talk to a financial advisor and a mortgage broker. Talk to several mortgage brokers to see what you can qualify for. If this is your first home, there might be some first-time home buyer plans in your state. Every state has their own way of doing this. So I can't give you like general advice on being included in first-time home buyer programs. There's so many out there. You just have to investigate. And I will say this, that the mortgage brokers that are like the big national chains, they're very unaware of the first-time programs for different kinds of states because they're doing mortgages on a national level. So I would encourage you to look into more local brokers that would have that information. Even credit unions. So that would be my advice for you on that. All right, Eddie, let's put the articles on the screen. We have 100 people watching. Let's let them pick the article we're going to talk about today. Because you know what? I like a good interaction with the audience. This is all about you today. All right. Do we want to do investors scoop up 15% of homes sold in the first quarter, a bigger piece of the pie than ever? Do we want to talk about that? All right. What's the next one, Eddie? Eddie's going to put up the next one. He's the moderator extraordinaire. New home sales plunge unexpectedly last month. Do we want to talk about that one? Do we want to talk about that one? And one more, Eddie. If you could throw one more up, we'll make it 3. Because we don't want we want more than 2 candidates. We like a third option. We like a third option. So, Clark the realtor wanted to say that my hair color looks nice. Thank you. It is not the color I anticipated. I have been very depressed about my hair, but what else? Oh, okay. This market expert warns woes may not be limited to commercial. Golly, I hope you guys don't pick that one. That sounds like Snoozeville. Yeah, there's no poll today. There's no poll today. We're winging it today, Debbie. I'm gonna mix things up. I'm gonna mix things up. Oh, Eddie wants this one. Supply and demand. Why you shouldn't expect a housing price crash? Like we haven't beaten that topic to death. So let's see who is anybody want to throw in their home sales plummet. That's what Peter wants. Sandy says number 2. Yep. Noreen says you can always change your color back. Yeah, if I wanted to melt off my head. That bleach, man, it was killing my hair. It melt off. Shake, shake, shake away. The supply and demand. I think people are looking at the supply and demand. The second article. Susan wants the second article. Oh, I think number 2. Everybody's saying the second article, Eddie. Let's throw that one up. If you got your vote in early, if you wanted another article, sorry, it's going to be number 2. I love the audience participation. This is fun. All right, new home sales plummet unexpectedly last month. All right, let's get into it. I have not read this one. Eddie made this a surprise, so I'm gonna scroll down a bitsy, little bitsy. Nice picture there. All right. New sales of newly built homes dropped last month as mortgage rates remain elevated. New home sales, which make up only 10% of the market, fell 11.3% in May from the prior month to 619,000, according to the government data released on Wednesday. That was the steepest monthly decline since September 2022 and marks the lowest level since November. May's level was below 647,000. Economists projected in a fact-set poll, mortgage rates soared to the highest level in a year in May and have since trended down. Borrowing costs are expected to ease this year, but not by much. Federal Reserve officials penciled in that one rate cut this year. Inflation will continue to drift closer towards the Fed's 2% target of the central bank to begin cutting rates. And some officials have said it's possible the Fed may not end up cutting anything this year. I don't think they're I mean, if you're asking my opinion, I don't think they're going to do anything. Nothing. High interest rates and expectations that will remain elevated for longer than expected are weighing on Americans' home builders as U.S. home builder sentiment soared in May for the second month in a row, according to the latest National Association of Home Builders. If Eddie could scroll down just a scotch, I would really greatly appreciate that. All right. I already read that part. Oh, stop. I already read that part. That's also taking a toll on construction on new homes. Housing starts fell 5.5% last month to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 1.28 million units. It's the lowest level since 2020. This also registering well below the economists' expectation. Building permits seen a belleth of future construction dipped 3.8%. That is not good, in my opinion, because we need housing. And if they're unwilling to build houses, if the sentiment is low and they're not pulling permits, that means that the supply restrictions are going to get worse. And if the supply restrictions are worse, staying in the same economic landscape that we are now, that means that home prices can continue to go up. And who knows how long they will go up for. That's not including if there's some other economic disaster. I'm just saying if it remains exactly the same. It says the U.S. housing market for decades has grappled with a chronic lack of homes available for sale. Oh, just what I was talking about, which has pushed some upward pressure on home prices. Some upward pressure? I think they downplayed that a little bit. Home prices, evaluated mortgage rates, coupled with persistent housing shortage, has undermined this year's critical spring home buying season. U.S. home prices rose in May for the 11th consecutive month to 419,300, a record high on data going back to 1999. The National Association of Realtors said this week. I could have sworn we were in the 120s before. Mm. Well, that means Americans are stuck dealing with a low housing affordability. That's also proving to be a headache for the Fed, and inflation overall has eased substantially since the reach of the 4-decade 2-year highs 2 years ago. But shelter costs have remained stubbornly elevated. It is effectively making a final stretch of the Fed's inflation battle more difficult. Fed officials, including Jerome Powell, have said that it's only a matter of time until declined rents show up in official government measurements of inflation. Renters are very much still struggling in today's tough housing market. Yeah, I have not seen anybody get a deal on their rent. Now, I will say that in some states that have stronger rent stabilization laws and stuff like that, they have said that they've gone back to some of their landlords and said you're illegally upcharging us on our rent, and they've won. I saw that on a few articles. And there's a bill, a policy out there that they want to put a cap on how much landlords can actually increase people's rent in a year. The biggest problem I see with that is that you can't account for insurance costs, and you can't account for insurance costs, and you can't account for taxes. So, like, there isn't a cap on how much the insurance company can charge a landlord for a house or an apartment building. So how are they supposed to offset that cost? Like, let's just say you've had a building for 20 years, and then the insurance company comes back and says, "Oh, well, we're going to charge you an extra, 15, $20,000 on your insurance that you didn't pay last year." They have to offset that somehow. And I don't think there should be a national cap on how much rent you should charge because of, like, that just doesn't make sense to me at all, especially with the rising costs of insurance. You're going to have to offset that. And not everybody's in the position or even wants to buy a house. So there's a place for rentals. There needs to be a balance. So anyways, if you have any questions, that was the article you guys picked that you wanted to talk about. If you want to give your commentary on that, Eddie can put those little comments on the screen. Go for it. I appreciate it. I'm gonna go over here really quick while Eddie gets a comment on the screen. Hold on. I have family members. I don't know if you guys have any family that's been traveling. I have family members that have been traveling, and they've been stuck in certain cities that they never anticipated because of the what happened the other day with the computer outage. And so I'm getting a lot of messages giving me updates on their location and what's going to happen. Overjoyed has a question. What age is too old to buy a home? Oh, I wouldn't necessarily say the age of the house. I would say how has it been maintained? That's what I would say. Um, I know that there are people that have bought flip houses that have turned into complete nightmares because, basically these flippers come in and they just put lipstick on a pig and a new hot water heater, and people think they're like buying a new house that's been revamped. In a lot of cases, that's not the case. And then I've seen other people who, like, they bought a house and from, the early 20s, and they rip it down to the studs and they start all over. They take out all the wiring, they start all over. And if it's permitted and they have complete documentation on how they've updated this house and you have a good inspection, I mean, like, you're good to go. I wouldn't say there's a specific age of a house that you shouldn't buy. I would say it's the condition of the house. How well has it been maintained? What things have been done to it? Was it permitted? All those things need to be put into play. Yeah, that's what I would say. Matter of fact, there's a house that was built here that was built like I mean, it's a plantation home. I'd move in that sucker in a heartbeat. And I know it's like it's a mess, but I would still move into there if I could afford it. I mean, it's just stunning, breathtaking. V-Man says, questions. Elections do not really affect the housing and interest from going up or down. Do elections? That depends on who you talk to. During an election year, housing always kind of remains kind of stagnant. It's after that election, things move in the direction up or down. That's when it really makes the most difference. It's usually after that election, but usually we're in that stale, stagnant stage during an election year. That's what I've always seen since I've been a real estate agent. It's always after the election, several months after the election, that you start seeing the ball moving in a direction that it would make a difference. But I think housing, and everybody feels this, is due for some kind of reckoning. Home prices are entirely too high. You just saw in that article, home builders are, not building as much. Things aren't really selling. There's something that has to give. I mean, you have all these new these people that are getting into the market that can't find a house to buy. And we can't turn every single person into a renter in order to find housing. There has to be some balance there. I don't know what that reckoning is going to look like. Anybody that says that they know is full of garbage. We can all look at numbers and sheets and everything else, but there's so many different things that could possibly happen down the road that would affect the housing market. So yeah, that's my answer to the question. Anyways, that was a little rant. Eric the Blue. Where's Eric the Red? Eric the Blue says, with regard to new home supply, it's a chicken and an egg. Builders want consumer demand, but the demand will be low until interest rates and home prices drop. And then I'm going to add on top of that is that builders are, getting a lot of pushback saying, well, look, your homes are too expensive. But the builders keep saying, look, we've had unprecedented building supply issues, right? But then people look at the newspaper and they're like, your building supplies have come down. But the biggest problem for a lot of home builders is finding qualified, inexpensive labor. That has always been the problem. Yeah, look, lumber's way down. Remember when they was like, lumber costs are so expensive, we have to pass it on to the consumer. Now it's like way down, but they haven't brought down the housing prices. But then they point to other things. But the labor is probably their biggest expense, and it's the hardest thing for them to keep and maintain. Because, what they're trying to do, right? Every builder wants to find the least expensive workers for, they hire all these people as cheap as possible so they can build the house as cheap as possible. And then the people that are willing to work are like, no, I'm not going to work for that price. I want more. If you're going to have me working and doing all these things, I want to get paid a fair rate. So that's part of the problem. But the other part of the problem for home builders is the cost of development of the land, right? That it isn't an easy process, and it is very, very, very expensive. And not only that, the permitting process is super expensive. The inspections from the counties are super expensive. Then you have, FEMA flood maps are expensive. All this stuff adds up. So it's very hard for them to build smaller, more affordable homes with having to do all those things ahead of time before even the house is built. We're in a weird stage right now, and it can be addressed. No one has addressed it yet. A lot of words have been put on a lot of pieces of paper that mean absolutely nothing because nothing has been done about it. It frustrates the living bejesus out of me. It actually is super depressing. A lot of times when I have to report on these things, I'm like, when I get done, I'm like, when can we live in precedented times? I just want precedented. I just want a good week of precedented times, not, I'm so tired of peeling back another onion layer and finding another rotten layer. It just annoys me. Oh, Eric the Red is your brother-in-law. Oh, okay. Eric the blue and Eric the red. My favorite brother, I shouldn't say my favorite brother, but I do. My favorite brother is an Eric. He's a good dude. He's an Eric too, and he's the best. My other brother shouldn't would be really upset to hear that, but he's heard me say it. He's heard me say it. I even have my brother Eric saved in my phone as my favorite brother. And I think Eric has me saved as his favorite sister. So Daniel says greed has to give. Yeah. And like I guess I had a very utopic view of the world, housing, builders, real estate agents before I got into this business. I really did. I thought everybody was pretty much on the same page as, houses need to be built, houses need to be sold. We're all working together to get people into homes, right? That was my like stupid new real estate agent brain. And again, once you start getting into this business and peeling back enough layers, you can smell a lot of greed. A lot of greed, and it's so depressing. And then at first you think, "Oh, it's only that person." They're the only one that's like that. And then you realize there's a good portion of people that are like that. Like a lot. And it's so sad. And it's like, "Really?" It depresses me, seriously. Andrea says, I love your show. I qualified to buy a home with my friend as an Airbnb here in Florida for 250, but with the price of homeowners insurance has got me nervous. Should I wait? I'm going to tell you this from my perspective in Louisiana. The insurance situation is not going to be resolved anytime soon at all. Um, all you can expect from here on out is that insurance prices will continue to go up. And if, oh, God forbid, that a storm comes through, a major storm comes through, you can expect those insurance rates to go even higher. And there's no limit to how high they can go. And all they're going to keep doing in order for it to be affordable is to make insurance deductibles extremely high. They're going to have you reduce your contents that you have, like you have in your house. They're going to say, well, you can do the structure, but not the contents. They're going to finagle these homeowners policies in a way that you have no choice, but you have to have it. Right. And what you're really paying for is really not that much. That's what I see in the future when it comes to insurance, because they don't want to be on the hook to have to replace roofs and all this other stuff and have to replace other things, incidental things in their mind. Insurance companies were there for protection for us, and now they look at all of our homes as a liability, and they want to make as much money as possible. So in order to do that, that's what they're going to end up doing, because it's kind of like private equity. They're going to try to find as much of a way to squeeze as much money out of us by giving us as crappy of a product as possible that we'll tolerate. And that's what I see insurance. Yeah, that's my view on it. Noreen says, is there a cap in place that corporate complexes will charge an extra fee to offset their increased expenses? It's already happening here in Central Florida. I don't know. I mean, it could be a state thing. We don't have that here in Louisiana. We don't have that. That's not a thing. But each state is going to address this separately when it comes to corporate investors, even big apartment complexes and everything. There is no specific law that's all over or ruling that's across the United States. Good question. I mean, like some of these complexes, I saw this poor girl, like she literally paid for a professional cleaner to come in. She had spent a month prior making sure all the holes were filled. She had never even scratched up her house. It was just her by herself, and she wanted her deposit back. And they came back and they're like, you weren't getting your deposit back, and you're actually going to have to pay a $350 $350 cleaning fee. And she's like, that's literally impossible. How is that even possible? like, so she had a whole video of how she took a video of the house after she was finished in it, and how she had painted it, and she was so proud of herself because she was like, I'm getting my deposit back. I'm definitely getting my deposit back. And they still said, no, you're not getting it. So where do you go? How do you prove that? So she has to go to small claims court in order to prove the fact that, she left the apartment in perfect condition. And she's like, I literally left it to the point where they could assign a lease to somebody the next day. I mean, I wiped out the cabinetry. There was not a thing in there. She even pulled out the drawers and everything. So some of these apartment complexes, they're not looking. They're just wanting to make a buck. Clark the Realtor says they just enacted the Safe at Home Act here in Georgia, HB 404, in regard to making sure rentals are kept at a habitable and safe. Oh, so like they're checking to like. Oh, here, Eddie, thank you. Georgia's Safe New Home Act bill aims to support renters. All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this. Some landlords that will be required all the rent upfront and security deposit on top of that. For example, a 3 months rent on top of that. So that became a real issue for folks that just needed a long-term rental, said Georgia District Representative Ron Steffens. If you're going to require a 3 to 4 month deposit for security, the apartment becomes unattainable. Well, that's true. Oh, there's a copy of that. He's going to scroll down. Oh, I think it's just hey, Eddie, it's a news story. So they're just, yeah. I think it's just one of those bills that's protecting renters more. Eddie wasn't able to find an article that talked about that more. You know what? Let's do this. I'm going to do this. Clark the Realtor. Are we friends on Facebook? If we're friends on Facebook, message me and I'll give you a link to this and you can jump on here if you want. It doesn't matter if you're on your cell phone or not. And you can talk about it. Like I said, we are flying today. There's no system to this today. We're doing whatever we want. I'm trying to find you on here. Clark the Realtor. No. Let's see. Anyway. All right, here we go. Under this bill, landlords will be required to provide rentals that are fit for human habitation. Well, that should be a given. Golly, the fact that they actually had to write that down is really sad. Tenants would have guaranteed 3-day grace period after missing a rental payment before eviction proceedings can be filed. Ooh, Eddie, can you imagine? Only 3 days? Wow. I think it's like 10 days here. Landlords would be banned from cutting off air conditioning prior to completion of the eviction action. Okay, that's just being humane. Security deposits will be capped at no more than 3 times the monthly rent. The eviction process will be expected for tenants who have recently been charged with or conviction with certain crimes, including violent felony, sexual offense, or has committed a crime threatening the health and safety and welfare of others. Well, all of these things are common sense laws. Thank you for putting them on the book, Georgia. that makes so sense. Like, I've seen people say, well, I'm just going to cut the water off to the people that are in that house. I've seen landlords do that. I'm like, they have children. Do you really want to be that person? I mean, I know they haven't paid you, but do you really want to cut off their water, their electricity? Oh, that's to me, that's just gross. Like, who knows what kind of financial situation that someone's been in? And maybe it's my bleeding heart. And I know people take advantage. I'm not doubting that, but I just could not go to sleep at night knowing that I cut somebody's water and electricity off just to get them out of my house. That's why I feel like we have the sheriff's department here, let them handle it. I'll just leave the lights on and the water on. We cover the water. The electricity is covered up by the renter. So anyway, yeah, don't forget to hit the like button, Eddie says. If you have a question, you can just put it in the chat. Just put the word question first, and then Eddie can put it up on the screen. We have no agenda today. We are flying by the seat of our pants. We're talking about whatever you want to talk about, within reason. It has to be about real estate. Don't go crazy. And let's not talk about my hair anymore because I hate it. Oh, Overjoyed says I crave boring times. I'd love a really good feel good story about a dog who saved a kid in a burning building or something like that. Or somebody. I want to live in precedented times again. I want my life to be boring, where the news was just boring. All the weather conditions were normal, and we were talking about new fashion trends on the national news. That kind of boring. Wes has a question that says, Kristina, do you believe this massive housing grab by corporate investors will ever self-correct? My gut says no, absolutely not. I think they have found a way to make a lot of money over time, right? So it's an asset that will grant them money for a very long period of time. The only way I see them doing like a dump of houses is if there's another financial disaster that causes them to have to liquidate. This would cause a tsunami of an issue, right? Let's just say there's some financial disaster that makes all these private equity firms decide all at once, we need to liquidate housing. Home prices are high. We're going to start dumping housing. The problem is that they have bought in concentrated areas all over the country. So in some areas, they own like 20, 30, 40%. If you had 20, 30, 40% of the housing stock all of a sudden hit the market at once, that's going to tank home prices. But they were, like I said, with everything with housing, there has to be some kind of other economic problem that would cause people to have to sell, get them into a desperate situation where they would have to take a big deduction in home price in order for you to see any kind of like significant housing correction or crash. There's just nothing on the books right now unless you live in an area that has a ton of new construction. And I said this all the way back in 2020. If you live in an area that has a ton of new construction, whenever home prices start adjusting, those areas are going to see the biggest correction in home prices. And look, fast forward, here we are in 2024. That's exactly what's happening. You live in an area, city, town that has a ton of new construction. That's where you're seeing the biggest price corrections. And home builders right now in those areas are offering pretty good deals. I mean, like really good deals with interest rates, with closing costs, with upgrades. They're offering some good deals on new housing. But I want to caution everybody, whenever you're buying a house, new or old, please get a home inspection. I know I've heard this several times in my career that people say, oh, it's a brand new home. I don't need a home inspection. The county's already done that and it's already passed. Do not do that. Get yourself a home inspector. If you don't like that home inspector, call another one. Have them check everything in that house. Have them check the air conditioning. Make sure that all those vents are sealed up. The number one thing that I always see with new home construction here in my area, if it's almost in every single house that's ever been inspected, they do not attach that hose that goes to the vent from the clothes dryer. And everybody's attic is filled with laundry lint. You go in a house that's 10 years old, they bought it brand new, that it was never connected in the first place. And I always ask them, did you ever have a home inspection when you bought it? Well, no, it was brand new. Why did I need a home inspection? That is a huge fire safety, huge. So, get that home inspection, even if it's brand new. I hope that answered your question. I went on a tangent. Jerry Reed says, Kristina, if money wasn't an issue for you, where in in America would you buy a house to live? If money was not an issue, I am like, I have some family members where we're all kind of looking at this area in Michigan. I want to move back north. I'm tired of being hot. You can't escape the heat. When you're cold, you can go inside and snuggle up. You can get as many layers as you want. This heat, makes me physically not feel well. And my oldest daughter is the same way. We overheat. We turn as red as a tomato. I don't know if it's because I don't sweat or whatever. It makes me not feel well. And I'm tired of not feeling good all the time. And it's because of the heat. The heat is killing my soul. I mean, it's great for my skin because I live in the South and we're fully, we're very humid here. It's great for my moisturizing, but I want to be somewhere cold. So Michigan, Maine, I would love to move to Maine. I would go to northern Massachusetts again. I want to be in the woods, I want to have a house in the woods and on 2.5 acres, just hear the trees, watch the squirrels. That would be where I'd want to live. Jennifer says, what do you think? I see a big problem with cheap employment. It means unqualified people building homes. In some cases, you're exactly right. There is a huge lawsuit going on with some of the major home builders because they have hired people, as subcontracted to the builder, right? And those subcontractors hire subcontractors. And they've even had children falling off of roofs. They had children putting in plumbing. There's been all sorts of accidents that have happened. People have lost their life. And, who is to pay for that when it comes to workman's comp? Well, some of them are undocumented, some of them didn't have insurance, some of them were never licensed to begin with, and it becomes a real issue. But I don't have the answer to that. I don't know what the answer is. That's something for the courts to decide when it comes to all this. You can't expect somebody to do a job and pay them so little they can't live. And I understand you want to build that house at the cheapest price possible, but you can't expect those people to want to do that job for that price if they can't live and feed their family. It makes no sense. The world costs so much more now. We are not in 1990. You can't pay these people, $15 or $17 or $18 an hour and expect them to get quality work. I'll leave it at that. Clark the Realtor says, hit that like button. My dog rescued me from working. My dog rescued me from working. He won't tolerate it. Yeah, your dog? I'm back down to 9 cats. One of the cats did not belong to me. It was my daughter's boyfriend's cat, and he had some car trouble. So we had 10 cats. We're now back to 9, and my cats rescue me on a daily basis. Lee has a question. It says, if a property allowed manufactured homes, does that include modular homes? Generally, yes. But you have to check with the local permitting office to find out if that's okay, right? So everything is going to be all up to them. It's usually the opposite is true. A lot of times they'll say you can have a modular, but you can't have a manufactured home. This is the reason being is a true modular home is built to the same specifications, if not better, than a traditional built home. So they'll approve that. But then when it comes to a manufactured home, those are built to government HUD standards, which are not the same standards as a traditional built home. And they're set on a chassis. So a lot of times when they'll say we will approve modular, they will not approve manufactured. Just take your house plans to planning and zoning and tell them this is what you want to do. It was in the MLS that it will accept manufactured housing. Will you accept this? And they'll give you an answer. Frank Brock says, I've been waiting for a crash for 2 years. It's growing inventory in Texas and Florida, going to ramp up and make housing everywhere go into inventory increases and price declines. So, Frank, just like every housing market is completely different. And I'm talking is every housing market as far as like each city. If you look at like Tampa's housing market and try to compare it to Miami's housing market, they're two completely different beasts. I always say, try to recognize the patterns of things that are happening. And back in my day, before the housing crash last time, you saw home prices start tanking in Florida. You started seeing them tank in Las Vegas, Phoenix, Arizona, and it had a ripple effect across all housing markets. But it wasn't as severe of a decline in prices as it was in other areas. Where I live in Baton Rouge, we didn't see hardly any decline in home prices during the crash. I mean, it stayed stale and stagnant for a very long time, but we didn't see like huge decreases in prices. Not at all. The only people that really had gotten a spanking on pricing were the people that bought a house right during Katrina and then tried to sell it 3 years later. Those are the ones that had the biggest reduction in home price, but it didn't make our housing market crash here. It wasn't a thing. We didn't have that happen. So it's just time will tell. There will be some kind of ripple effect, of course, but how severe that will be, nobody knows. Chad Masters says, I saw a tweet that 26% of realtors own residential properties for investment, according to NAR. What do you think? Is that high? Oh, I bet you it's even higher than that. I don't know a real estate agent that's been in this business for more than 10 years that doesn't at least own one extra property, whether that be a camp on the river, whether that be an apartment. Some of them own several houses. I don't know. I bet you it's higher than that. I bet you it's higher than that. And it's because, we see the benefit and the security that it creates for somebody to own a piece of property. And why not expand on that even more to have more properties? Yeah, I bet you it's even more than that. Demu says, I'd like to see home builders use EPS foam and concrete skim or DIY kits for use. There has to be some enforcement to any kind of DIY kind of stuff. Like we need to have some people come out there because, a lot of people, they have great ambitions to build a house. And I love those like Sears and Roebuck houses. Those are still standing to this day. You ordered a house from Sears and Roebuck. It comes off of their train tracks. And then you could build your own house. Some of these people said it took their dad 15 years to put the house together, but they got a house, for real cheap. I love a DIY, kid home. I really do. It's just that they do need some kind of oversight to make sure that they're put together correctly, so you don't cause the whole neighborhood to catch on fire. It'd be a great idea. There's a company out in Utah called Zip Kit Homes. They're right out of St. George, I believe, and they have the nicest kid homes I've ever seen. Like honestly, they're pricey. They're not cheap, but they are beautiful, amazing, quality built homes. And a lot of those kid homes are, but a lot of them are garbage. And you got to remember too, like where are you getting this house from? What building materials are they using to build this house to give to you to put together? Are all these components not going to have off-gassing that could make you ill? What is your warranties? Because you're putting the house together, you're putting it together yourself. So is there any warranties on the structure? You have to look into all those things. I think just like almost every housing product out there, there's a space for that. I just don't think it's the answer. I don't think there's one answer to like the affordability crisis. I do like a kid home though. The recession isn't something that would cause this problem. Do you happen to notice that all the companies laying people off, closing down store locations across the country, all the autos and repos? Yeah. So we talked about this a couple weeks ago. So I'm in like these investment groups that I listen to. Um, they're on we're in these groups and we all talk to one another, and there are real estate agents, there's people in insurance, there's people in the auto industry. I mean, they're all in these industries where we service people when it comes to their homes and economy. So I'm always listening, and for the last like 6 months they've had an increase of a lot of repos, and the auction houses that normally would have, like, let's just say they would have brought in a car that they normally would have sold in an instant, like for $4,000. They can't even give them away. They can go back out, or they do like a closing price of like somebody take it for $1,000, anybody, and they still can't get rid of them. Insurance companies and some of the insurance guys I've been listening to. That's why I know that there's people that are being forced to sell their house because in Florida they can't afford the insurance. And now they're having a problem where they can't find anybody to buy the house because the insurance. And who's left to buy them? I mean, in my opinion, it's going to be corporate investors because people still want to live in Florida. So uh, I don't know. I feel like some of this is just being forced upon us. There's going to be a correction in one way, shape, or form. We just don't know what that looks like yet. We just don't. Overjoyed said, if housing prices crash, how much can it reduce property taxes? Oh, do you know that in my lifetime, I've only seen my property taxes go down once, one time, and it was only for a year, and it was only $100. That's like saying, well, if housing prices come down, will insurance prices come down? That isn't going to happen. That's not going to happen. It's kind of like grocery prices too. They're like, oh, grocery prices came down. Oh, no, they didn't. They just took out like 3 ounces and they left it the same price. Or they brought it down $1, but also took off 3 ounces out of that bag. I should have taken a picture. I was at the store and I was looking at this bag of tortilla chips, the corn tortilla chips. It was a clear bag, and there was only this much chips. Like, the whole bag's this big, and the chips are right down here. Why make the whole bag if the chips are gonna be down here? Even if you get, like, a sleeve of cookies, they have arranged the plastic container inside the cookies where it looks like you have the same amount of cookies, but no, they've just filled it up with plastic, so you're not getting as many cookies. It's like we live in a very strange time. We live in a very strange time. Just headphone says, do you think rate the rate will go down since Joe Biden dropped out of the race? Oh, I don't know. I don't know. This is more unprecedented times. It's for the last 3 years. Can we catch a break? Can we just catch a break? I mean, honestly, um, I don't have an answer for that. I mean, I've never lived through times where a presidential candidate dropped out of the race, like, what, months before a race? I've never seen this before in my lifetime. I have no uh, past experience to even reflect on in order to give any kind of commentary on it. I'm just tired. I'm so tired. Karen C says, I rent. Found a great apartment near Jacksonville for hundreds less than what I'm currently paying. Rents are coming down. Well, isn't that a joy? Oh, I'm happy for you. Like, I in most cases through my lifetime, renting was, much cheaper than a mortgage payment. For the last 3 years in many markets, rent has been either above or in line with a mortgage payment. Like, that was the appeal of renting was like, "Oh, well, it's not as much as a house." But then you couldn't find a house even if you wanted to buy a house for the same amount that you're renting for. Eh, so crazy. I'm glad. I'm happy for you that you finally found something that's so much cheaper. Overdrive says, "Have notice how wide the inside of the roll of paper towels is in TPR?" Oh, we've had this conversation before. You want to save on toilet paper? Get yourself a bidet, man. I have one. They're amazing. Get yourself a bidet and save some money on toilet paper. But yeah, of course, that's exactly what they're doing. I didn't even. I now I'm gonna look at. I wasn't sure about the paper towels. I'm gonna look at that cardboard tube in there. Oh, Lawnmower says LBJ dropped out of the race in 1968. Thank you for that was Lyndon B. Johnson. Is that right? But I was like what? I was I wasn't even born then. I was a widow. I was widow. I was a widow egg. I don't remember that, and it was not part of history that I ever remember studying in high school. I mean, I haven't been in high school in what 33 years, 34 years. So I don't remember that lawnmower. I'm sorry. There are 0 properties near me that would be investment qualified. You know what though? Sometimes investors will look at a I've seen many investors walk into a house that looks like it's the foundation and the whole house is leaning this way. It smells like a undescribable smell that you never want to smell again. It's loaded with trash. And you look at this and you're like, there's no way in hell I'd touch this thing. It looks like a money pit. Investors that they laugh and they go, oh, this is a gem. This is great. They love them. Like they love a house that is just a hot mess. I've worked with them for years. During the last crash, that was the only thing I was selling was to investors. And the worse the house, the more they wanted it. So, why are you laughing at me, Clark? I don't know what I said that was so funny. Yep, I was 10. Yeah, I don't remember that. My first political thing that I ever remember, like anything political, not I know we're not a political channel, but the only thing I remember because I was little and my mom used to watch soap operas and my mom's soap opera was interrupted because there was an attempt on Ronald Reagan. And that was the first time that like an image of a president was in my brain. I didn't remember any president before that, but after that, then I started recognizing presidential faces because of that. Other than that, I don't remember anything before that. The night that LBJ dropped out, we were at the Who concert in Constitutional Hall in DC. Wow. That's a heck of did you keep the shirt? I hope you kept the concert shirt. I hope you got a concert shirt. I'm so depressed with myself because I had all these concert t-shirts from like Lollapalooza and when I saw Pearl Jam and all these concerts I had went to over the years. I'm like, and I just threw those away. I am so mad at myself. So mad. I hope you got a t-shirt and got to keep it. Nobody told us that it was going to be worth it to keep those things. If you guys have any real estate questions, I know we're totally off the rails today. This is just one of those live streams. I had a plan and then I was like, you know what? Let's go crazy. Let's go wild on the live stream. Let's do our own thing. So Gerald says, hello, Mrs. Smallhorn. Hello. It's so good to see you. It's great to see you. Thank you for being part of the chat. I appreciate you. If you haven't yet, just make sure you hit that. Oh, why did LBJ drop out? Save me the Google. Well, let's find out. I don't know what, maybe you'll have to relate to real estate. I have no idea. I have no idea. Eddie would have to answer that, or maybe someone in the chat could. Oh, here we go. Eddie's gonna do it. Cause political chaos. Why did he drop out? Refused to seek re-election, sent ways through. At the time, he was withdrawing from the race. Crystallized nature of conflicts that had been split the country, along with ideological whatever, racial and class lines so deeply, but within days that it became all too apparent that no single act of political sacrifice could repair the divisions in the country. Johnson's presidency was symbolized a reflection of the nation's fissures, but it was ultimately its root cause. So the country was split, and that's why he decided to do it. Johnson himself alluded to the deep roots of unraveling in America in his surprise announcement, with America's sons in the field or far away. Oh, so this was like during the Vietnam War and everything. All right, this has nothing to do with real estate. Let's move on. I hate political conversations. It always makes people very emotional, and it can get so heated. I refuse to have any conversations like anytime that like is brought up during like a dinner during Easter or Christmas or something. I literally get up, I say nothing, and I just walk out of the room because I don't want to hear it. I just don't. So, there we go. Thank you, Connor. Thank you for breaking up the monotony right here. Connor Sullivan says, how do ARM loans work? Depends on the type of ARM loan you have. There's so many different products out there, but generally it's like, how long of a basis are you going to pay this smaller amount in a mortgage payment when that time period is up, that it readjusts to the new payment at a higher interest rate. So you may get like an introductory rate, or sometimes like zero, where you're only paying the interest for that loan for that ARM for that period of time, 5 to 10, whatever, how many years it is. And then the new rate kicks in. So then a lot of times that payment is excruciatingly high. A lot of times when people are getting into those ARMs, they're thinking to themselves, well, my career hasn't taken off yet, but I know that it will in the next 5 years. I'll just go ahead and refinance 5 years from now. But you're gambling when you do something like that. You have no idea what's going to happen with interest rates over that 5 years, right? You're hoping that they will go down at some point so you can refinance. And not only that, you're hoping and praying that home prices maintain or go up from the time that you purchase the house. It's the product is there because it's necessary. Not everybody can qualify for an ARM. You have to have really good credit. The conditions for you to be able to qualify for those ARM loans are different. So I personally wouldn't do it, but we have something like that on our rental properties, because we use it in a way that works for our rental property. I don't think they're for everybody. If you're terrible with money, do not do something like this. And work with a financial advisor and work with a mortgage lender to find out what the best product is for you. Yep. The Steel Curtain says, you're channeling your inner prince. Let's go crazy. Yeah. I was scrolling through Facebook, and on my Facebook business page, all I have are my live streams. And I was watching, like, it just shows the first 15 seconds. And of course, the beginning of all my live streams, what do I do? I'm dancing. And I realized how incredibly ridiculous I look to start off a stream dancing. And I'm like, should I still continue doing that? I mean, I do it because it makes me feel good. But does that turn off people? I know that I always get a comment like, I wish you just stopped the dancing. And I'm always like, oh God, just lighten up. But then I was like, maybe there's something to that. Maybe I should stop dancing. It's funny because normally during this time we have about about 400 to 500 people on the stream, and I think everybody's glued to their news today. That's why I'm just so glad that you guys, over 200 of you, are here today to listen to me ramble. But I didn't have much of a show put together because I was flying by the wing of my, what is it? Flying by the seat of my pants. Why did I say wing? And I just thought, you know what? Let's just have a conversation and see where it goes. Oh, Christine, you got rid of your memorabilia. I have my concert tickets. I kept those. I still in some box somewhere in the attic. I have all my concert tickets to every concert I ever been to. Um, I don't have all the stuff from the raves. I don't know if they gave concert tickets. I don't even remember. I usually was an armband and a stamp that washed off as soon as you washed your hands. Um, but yeah, I have those. I just didn't save. I didn't save the shirts. I don't know why I didn't. That was so dumb. They probably wouldn't fit me anyways. I was like 75 pounds back in the day. I was a little thing. I'm not that little now, that's for sure. John says I should dance on. Maybe the end of the stream, maybe not the beginning. No, keep dancing. It shows you have a human side. Uh, all right. All right. You guys win. All right. Okay. I didn't know if it made you. All right. So you guys love the dancing. The dancing stays. Because even Eddie was like, really? You're gonna stop doing that? I don't know. Wings let you fly. If the dancing makes you happy, it's your page. Go for it. Haters will hate no matter what. Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? I used to screenshot all the meme comments I would get on my YouTube channel and post them on my Facebook because they were so funny. They were so funny. The mean things that people could say to a person and feel comfortable. I like at first it used to really bother me, but the meaner they got, the funnier I thought they were. Everybody wants me to keep dancing at the beginning. I think I have a little little sinus thing going on. Oh, Antique Roadshow says that tickets show value. That's how I found your channel. It was live with Javier and you're dancing. So hilarious. Yeah, I like to. And I'm not even a good dancer. I just like dancing. And real estate has been so serious. We saw so many different things happening. I've been talking about home affordability since 2018. And with the rise of home prices that was happening across the United States during the pandemic, I never in a million years anticipated that significant of a rise. And every time the home prices were going up, I'm like, we're in big trouble because we already have an affordability problem. And I don't know how many people were like, shh, no, there's not a problem. Look at the interest rates. Shh, just quiet down. People are still affording it. Look how many houses are selling. Look how many houses. I'm like, who's buying them? There's a good portion of people that can't afford these home prices now, even with the interest rates so low. Nobody wanted to listen. Nobody wanted to listen. And now here we are. We're at record numbers of $419,000 and interest rates at 7.2%. And still to this day, there are people that will sit there and go, homes are more affordable. Look, interest rates are coming down. Affordability is back. If the house is 419,000, I don't even care if your interest rate is at 1%. That still excludes a good portion of the United States because they don't make enough income to support those home prices. So you're excluding a good portion of people that are getting into the market that won't be able to afford a home until they're in their 40s, 50s, maybe even 60s to buy their very first house because home prices continue to go up. But, they'll gaslight us and say, well, interest rates are down. So don't worry about it. Interest rates are down. You could still afford a house. Nope. That's not how it works. Their incomes can't support it. People that working average jobs, like regular jobs, police officer and school teacher, they can't afford the median price house. A small business owner and a nurse, they can't afford to buy, a starter home in a lot of areas. There's a huge divide. and it's getting bigger. And I've been telling everybody about this since 2018, but no one wanted to listen. And I've done um, tons of videos on corporate investors buying up the most affordable housing because they started in manufactured housing. That video barely got crap, but now that it's like all open wide and they're just willing to just show everybody what they're doing, and it's so obvious what they're doing, now everybody's like, oh wow, I had no idea. It's so crazy. Yes, Eddie even says investors scoop up close to 15% of homes sold in the first quarter, a bigger piece of the pie than ever. Yeah, than any other. Just date the rate, honey. Oh, that cliche, date the rate, marry the house, or marry the house, date the rate. That could be a recipe for disaster for a lot of people. And you can't use a little, cutesy little thing to cover people's biggest financial decision of their lives. There's more nuance to it than that. And every time I saw that, because I don't post anything on Instagram, but I'll do a little bit of this, a little scrolling. And every lender that posted that, I just wanted to throw up. Like, you know better than that. Why are you doing this? And I mean, they're doing it because I want to sell more loans. I get that. But it can get people in way over their head. We saw the recipe for disaster when people did that. They were like, "Oh, in 5 years, my house will be worth so much more, and I'll refinance, and I'll get that lower rate." And then people ended up underwater. So I don't like that expression. I'm not a fan. Not a fan. Haven't ever been. Oh, thank you. Someone else says I like my dancing. Bismuth says, question, what are your thoughts on townhome investing in this economy? Depends on the area. Like back in the day, back in the uh, late 90s, early 2000s, there were townhomes that you could buy in Orlando for on the cheap. I mean, they were on the cheap. Homeowners associations were cheap. I would have, if I had had the money at that time, which I did not because I was in my early 20s, I would have bought three of those suckers and running them out, you know? But it's going to be very dependent on the area that you're looking to do any kind of townhome investing. But I love a townhome. I mean, you can pretty much invest in any um, housing product, even tiny homes, and make that into a business plan. But just make sure you're getting, what you're doing. Don't do it because somebody on YouTube told you to do it, or they tell you how easy it is. You're gonna have to do a lot of education ahead of time, because that proper prior planning, you know, helps you get out of a lot of trouble. Jane B says, question, I cannot find a home in North Georgia. I was told that the great ones are not hitting the MLS. Is that true? How do I get on that list? I'm not familiar with I actually have a friend in North Georgia. If you want, go ahead and go to my website, kristinasmallhorn.com. Tell in the comment section of the form, you just hit one of the pink buttons. And in that comment section, tell me that you spoke to me on the live stream and you said you have an agent in North Georgia. He's been around there forever. I mean, I don't know how old he is, but he's a long time real estate agent, and he's in that North Georgia area, and he's helped several people that I know. I don't know if you know this or not, but I lived in North Georgia for a hot minute, for a few years, and I have a good old timey realtor for you. And if there's a listing out there, he'll know it. He will know it. And he's a good guy too, really super nice. Yep. Question says, what is your thought on an elder buying a rental property in today's market? You know what? Do you know who the biggest buyers of homes during this last housing boom was? It was baby boomers, And if they have I would never stop anybody from doing anything. But if you have medical conditions, or you're limited budget or anything like that, don't do it just because you want to buy something and you can. Have a reason to buy that other rental property. Um, or you're just trying to pass down wealth to other family members. I mean, what is your plan? So, I mean, do it. I mean, I tell this story all the time. I've worked with clients, and even my dad, he's in his 80s when he bought his house. So he was like, I just got a 30-year mortgage. And I'm like, yeah, of course you did. He's like, they have a lot of high hopes for me. Like, I said, Dad, they can't discriminate. You could go into your 90s and get a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. As long as you got the credit, you can get it. He's like, that is crazy to me. But, like if they want to do it, do it. If you have the income to do it and the will and the want to do it, yeah. People don't retire like they used to. Like when I was a kid, people retired. And then as I've seen over the last probably 10 years, a lot of the people that are in that retirement age are like, no, because of insurance as well. So anyways, but all right, everybody. I'm sorry. This was we just kind of flew by the seat of our pants. I promise I'll be much more organized next week. I just was in a mood just kind of play it all out, see what happens, fly by the seat of my pants. Not fly by the wings of my pants. I don't know where I got that from. So crazy. I want to thank our moderators for being a part of the chat and always contributing to the conversation. Thank you so much, Clark the Realtor, Debbie, and Lawnmower. You guys are the best. Don't forget to smash the like button on the way out. If you need to get a hold of me, you can go to KristinaSmallhorn.com, click on one of the pink buttons, fill out the form, and I will get in contact with you. Make sure you leave your phone number so I can get in contact with you. If you like to listen to this as a podcast, I don't know why you would do that, but you want to go to anywhere you listen to podcasts, look for Kristina Smallhorn, Real Estate for Everyone, and you could listen to this in the car. So, yeah, go ahead and listen there. There you go. Just listen there. All of these live streams are put up as a podcast with no commercials. So if you hear a commercial on there, it's not from me. It's from the podcast company, not me. All right, everybody, I hope you have a fantastic week. Let's hope this week, real estate, everything becomes unprecedented times. No more unprecedented times. I want precedented times. I don't want to live in any more unprecedented times. Precedented. We need precedented times. All right. So long. Farewell. Avita Zane. Be good. Stay out of trouble. Don't talk to strangers. Eddie, they want to see me dance. So you better throw on some music for these folks. Let's see if we can hear some music. Oh, this is kind of ravey. I think I need some glow sticks. Glow sticks.